What? I'm bipolar? Am I? Oh man. Oh no. What am I gonna do? Now that I'm bipolar, what am I gonna do that I have attention disorder? What am I gonna do? I guess I need to live in that label. Yesterday, my girlfriend asked if I was bipolar. But before we get into that, let me give you a little bit of a foundation. So, everything has its opposite, right? So, if you look at the extreme ends of things, on the one side, you would think potentially through my behavior would be bipolar, right? But there's another side to it, right? Every front has its back. Let me give you a little bit of a story first before we go into that. So what the mind likes to do is it likes to box things in so it can understand it. So for example, if you read the book from New Earth from Eckhart Tolle, talks about this, that what happens with our vocal tones is we call this a tree, right? Tree. That's just a vocal tone. This could be a ka. We all could agree that this could be a ka. And do you know what something? This is called an arbo in Spanish. But no, we're right. English is right. It's called a tree. Like, no, it's called an arbo. Like, no, it's a tree. But you know what? Both of those don't do it justice. This is what Eckhart Tolle talks about. That just because you put a vocal tone to something doesn't mean that it makes it what it is. It's actually far deeper than that. But over the years of developing our brain, we've developed this thing to box things in. This is where projection comes into play in psychological terms. And what our brain does is it puts it in a box and then goes, I understand it. Which makes sense. We need to communicate with each other. But you know that how dolphins communicate is through clicks, through sonar. And it's far more effective. We're actually behind in our communication to dolphins. And I think at one point we're going to be able to speak telepathically. Am I stretching your mind for a moment? That's my plan. That's my intention, is to stretch and let out what's deep inside of me. I've not really talked these thoughts out of, let's say, ruffling people's feathers, but I don't care anymore. I'm so over it. I'm just going to express and be me, take it or leave it. So let me tell you a story. In 2019, my Nana passed away. And 5 years before it, I mourned her death, or let's say maybe even 3 years or 2 years. I mourned her death in the jungle. I let go of her while she was alive. I knew that she was coming to the end. I didn't know when, so I flew home and spent a lot of quality time with her. I cherished her, and I cherished our relationship together. Now this may be an off topic, this may blow your mind, but maybe you could learn something from this too, because I developed deep peace in the process. So when I flew home and I was with my Nana before she passed, I was extremely present. If you want to know a book on death, I would recommend reading the book The Art of Living and Dying by Osho. I don't know what your standpoint is on Osho. I don't know really what mine is, but I know that the information that's said in that book is really powerful. There's energy that transfers when a human's passing and leaving their body. I was present to it, but then to read it in the book from The Art of Living and Dying, my friend's grandmother, bless her heart, is about to transition too. So I've been talking to him about this process and what I learned from it and the power of just being present. You know, it's a painful moment, but it's also a very beautiful moment. It's the transition of life, and it's actually the last fear I have that I'm still working on. Ram Dass's guru even said that when he was on his deathbed, he said, and this guy's a spiritual sage, and he said he still felt fear before passing over. Because I don't think there's really anything we can do, maybe there is, to prep for this experience. So my family labeled me as a sociopath. How are you not crying? How are you not in pain? How are you happy in this moment? How are you present? They didn't say the word present, but that's essentially what I was. And they labeled me as a sociopath because on the one side, a sociopath feels nothing. You know, that hurt me more than my nana passing. It's getting labeled as a sociopath that I don't feel. Are you kidding me? I feel her to the highest depths. That's why I'm so present with her. Do you know that she died the day I left? I mean, I don't find it that ironic, but that's because everyone was coming in the room with negative energy. When you're about to die, you feel energy at the highest level. At least that's what I observed. So I kept coming in and brought really good vibes with her because I'm present with her. So I get to Philippines, and my brother just gets on me. Starts yelling, saying that I started yelling too because I'm like, man, are you kidding me? Here, listen. But see, here's the thing with this stuff. What I'm talking about here is very complex, deep, psychological understanding that takes you the patience. Maybe you've already clicked off this video. But it takes patience and listening and learning and the desire to learn. So I got put in a little box like this and said I was a sociopath. But actually on the other side of it, if he would just listen to what I was doing in the processes, he'd be more present to it. But what happens is our mind tends to focus on what is, and then that grows and creates more pain on the inside. Okay, so how does that relate to right here? Well, my girlfriend just labeled me yesterday, and as it would, as like a bipolar. And even if you watch these two videos that I just did before this, on the one hand, I'm like super down and I'm being raw and vulnerable, and then the next day I bounced out of it. Very similar traits to bipolar. But let me give you the other side of it. I'm gonna make another video on this, but I'm gonna shorten this. I caught Corona. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons from Corona, and my only regret is that I didn't enjoy it. I'll say that again. Did you catch that? My only regret is that I didn't enjoy it more. You know why? Because my life got better after it, but I am still not out of the Corona process fully. It was incredible. It was so challenging. But where it brought me to was a higher ground, so that's why I wish I would have enjoyed it more because I got to a higher ground. I learned a lot of valuable lessons in that experience. And that is what I brought to this experience. What I'm just going through right now, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna learn from Corona because I was in 10 days of depression, and I'm like, I'm not going back that way. I've been in depression for 1.5 years when I was 24, and that's what got me sober. So I'm like, I'm not gonna go back to that place internally. So here's the technique. Here's the understanding. I kind of talked about it in the last video. But on the one hand, you would think, this guy's gotten angry. I went to the beach and yelled into a towel. I let it all out of my body. I went to a temple and prayed. And I went through a gnarly process. I was really, in those last 48 hours, I've been very not a great state of myself. Very vulnerable, very raw, very angry, very, very angry. But I know that if I stay focused on that, I'm gonna start attracting more negative situations. I tested this with Corona, and that's what happened. I kept focusing on it, and more negative situations kept happening. It's not by chance, because the mind attracts that in. Where focus goes, energy flows. Likes attracts likes. So if you keep focusing on the woe is me, and if I keep focusing on this guy did this, or this person said this, or this thing happened, I know from testing this through manifestation, I'm going to create more of it. It's a powerful technique, a technique I learned from the global elite. Massive help. Giving me such a framework in the inner world. I've become a Jedi. I honestly have become a full-on Jedi. This information is incredible. The fact that I can go through that experience and then bounce. Boom! And the reason I was so happy is because I just wasn't feeling those feelings anymore. I was like, it's very baseline because like I had internal lava going on. My whole system, everything was just so intense. And then to 48 hours later being like, wow, okay, like, because I'm changing my thoughts. I'm not focusing on all the negative things that have been happening. I honored myself to go through that process. But I know from Corona, what I learned in Corona, I'm not repeating again. I'm not going to repeat that. What I've learned in the van, I'm not going to repeat that. I'm becoming wiser in this information. So if you see the process that I've been going through, on the one hand, I've been negative, mad, angry, so charged up. You would label that as bipolar. But on the flip side, it's part of the manifestation process. It's about changing your mind. If you want the things to change in your life, you have to change the things in your life. And if I continually think how I've always thought, I'll continually get what I've always got. I'll say that again. If I continue to think how I've always thought, I'll continue to get what I've always got. Powerful, especially when you're in these kind of situations, this high emotion, negative, angry, you want to blame. But you know, when you point a finger out, you've got 3 fingers pointing back at you. So that's what I've been doing in the last 40 hours, looking myself in the mirror, facing it, and looking for guidance. And I've been getting it, which has really been beautiful, from random moments and spaces and teachings. But I realized, like, I'm going to manifest a mentor in this space, a spiritual sage, someone that I can spiritually learn from, get a deeper support in this. It's time now to get deeper support in the spiritual realm. If you know anyone, let me know that you think that I would be able to get coaching by. I'm willing to invest in this place of myself, because this is just too intense. Yeah, I gotta understand this internal stuff. It's like, yeah, it's pretty intense. I'm an interactive human, you know what I mean? Like, I love talking to people. I love that's how I learn, you know. I would be the kid in the class asking a lot of questions. Why? I mean, too many times to where people get mad at me for asking why, you know. It's just a vat of curiosity. My girlfriend has the same trait as well. And so on the opposite side of this, labeled bipolar, is actually like, I had ability to understand my situation. I had the framework and the inner framework to get myself out of it, and I changed my thoughts. And I stopped focusing on what happened, and I started moving forward and looking to my future and being like, okay, things are going to change. Things are going to get better. This is what I want. And I started focusing on what I wanted, not what I didn't want. I already knew what I don't want. But now I look forward and be like, okay, the future's bright. This is going to change. And so you see the energy starts to shift in that way. This is stuff they don't teach us in school. This is stuff your parents don't teach you. This is stuff they do teach you if you're part of the global elite class. Do you know that at dinner tables, they talk to each other like this? Imagine this, having your dad talk to you about these concepts over eating some food on a consistent daily basis since you've been 8 years old. Powerful. It's not by chance that the global elite are at the global elite level. It's all systematized, well thought out, well ironed, tested, and taking a lot of people through this transformation. I've been going through this transformation. It's been so powerful. I feel so grateful because I can have an experience like that, be lost, and still lost in some of the feelings, but my life doesn't have to keep going in that direction. I'm going to take charge, take responsibility, and change it. And so the mind labels. So what I want to leave here with you in this expression is, are you getting labeled or are you labeling yourself? This is one I love. I love this one. Watch people's face when they express. Well, you know, it's because I have attention disorder. Did you see that? I'll just do it again. Well, you know, it's because I have that attention disorder, ADHD. Men, who doesn't in this day and age? Who doesn't have that? But you know what's interesting? We've become in a culture where we're labeling all these things. We're labeling as depression, we're putting words on it, and then we keep thinking about that label, and then we manifest that label. But like attention disorder, it's like, okay, I agree, maybe, but like, and I'm not here calling someone out or saying you are. I'm not a doctor by no means. But what I would like to interject is a little thought. Let's play thought tennis, you know? Follow this thought tennis game with me. Bounce with me. Play with me for a sec. If you've listened this far, that means you want truth. And I'm not saying what I know is truth. I'm just saying what I know inside myself to be true and what I've contemplated, and also been able to excel through these labels. You have attention disorder. Okay, let's look at your habits. Oh, you wake up and you go straight on your phone. Okay, fine, that's a pretty, all right, but what do? You wake up, you go on your phone, you go straight on Instagram. And then you stay on Instagram for an hour, but not only that, you have the news on in the background. Okay. Whoa. And then throughout the entire day, you have all the notifications that train your brain. Hello, this phone is designed to train our brains to take our attention away. From top psychologists in Harvard, this is what the platforms are here to do. So the platform itself is designed to take your attention. And so then you develop, like a rat, myself included, develop dopamine hits off this goddamn thing. I love it though. I love the technology because it's a tool if you use it as a tool, but a lot of people are getting used by the tool. And so you turn on this thing and it takes your attention. I'm telling you, top psychologists and engineers are designing these platforms to take our attention. So now you develop this disorder. Well, yeah, of course you did. You're not meditating, you're not going to nature, you're not giving yourself time, you're not going into a float tank. You're eating poor foods that don't digest well in your body, so you want to escape, and so you go watch more things that make you feel good. You don't know what to do when you're in boredom. So you develop coping mechanisms with your phone. And now you're identified, your identity, this is what's so crazy. Now your identity has become, well, because I have attention disorder. Well, maybe we could just change some habits. And then that's not you. You don't need to identify with that. Or maybe just look at why that's there. It's like it's kind of not really your fault, but you have to take full responsibility. It's not really your fault. You've gone onto your phone unconsciously. You've used it unconsciously, and now you've developed these disorders unconsciously. But someone has consciously designed this machine for you to develop these unconsciousnesses. So someone thought this out. We need to get them addicted to this thing so that they lose their attention. Now, that's why we're in the attention economy. I've been studying this stuff. The exchanges, this is what the platforms are fighting against, is the attention. Because that's where we can make the money now, is off your attention. So, that's now the new currency. This has been happening. If you watch this documentary series called The Century of Self, this has essentially been really happening. The first credit card came out in the 1960s. So this is really where this all kind of started, was in the 1960s, where advertisers started making things so that you don't feel like you're enough. And now we're in 2021 and it's at its height. So many people are feeling empty. So many people are. Why are you smiling so big? Well, because if you realize it, you're not a part of it. You can step outside of it. You're not better than it. But now when you become aware of these things, you can make changes. Hence that negative energy and anger that I was being for the last 48 hours. It's like I've become aware of it. Now I can change it. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. Nope. That's why I'm looking for a sage. I'm looking for guidance in this spiritual realm. I really am. But I also have the ability to see these things and then not be affected by them. Or get affected by them and be like, okay, this is not good. I need to change this. So if you're identified with your disorder, you're bipolar, you're sociopath. Now, I'm not saying these things aren't real. These things are very real. They're very, very real. But they're also labels. And when labeling happens, you get put into a tree box. And that doesn't define you. Close your eyes. You're so much more than what a vocal tone is. You're so much more than your name. You're so much more than this label. Like, it doesn't even matter what I say out of my mind. You've got the disorder. You've got the disorder. It doesn't matter. It's just vocal tones. You can change it at any moment. You have the power to change it at any moment. You can change anything inside yourself. It's very powerful. So maybe I am bipolar. I'll take it. Give it to me. Because I actually want to be bipolar then. If I can have that experience and get out of it, then that's a good thing. I want to be bipolar then. It's a great thing to be then. I am. Because if I can take myself to that height, experience that intensity, but then what manifests after that, I get a nice new place. My business is getting even better. I get more freedom. I'm more peaceful within because I face things that I didn't face before. Okay, put bipolar on it then. Fuck it. Doesn't matter then. I guess I am. But at least I'm getting what I want. You know, I'm a bit of a trickster. You know, that's part of my personality. When I really let it out, it's like part of my being. I play in these spaces, and so I wanted to check in today and play for these food for thoughts. So, with that, let's see where you're at. Let's see where I'm at. I wanted to check in today. I thought that this was a cool topic to talk about. So, have a wonderful day. Peace.